Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 57. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
And we are not alone tonight because as Game of Thrones began and we had the season premiere of Game of Thrones, we were joined by my wife, Lauren, and she's here again.
It's only fitting.
Hi, hon.
Hi.
Hey.
So this week, a busy week. I just felt busy all fucking week. I was tired all week. We had the kid this week. And she wore me down a little bit and didn't really
started working out.
Yeah, that was the worst.
We started doing long walks around the neighborhood, and then we would come home.
Yeah, like 2-mile walks. And then,
long for me.
Yeah, and then doing the 30-day challenges 3 at a time. So yeah, and finding time to fit that stuff in when you come home from like 10 hours at work, you just want to not do anything.
Yeah, and you see how my life works. I come home, I'm like, let's go. We got to go for our walk now.
Yeah, because if we were, and today that was a testament to me where I was like, you started doing your workouts. And I was like, I'll do mine later. And then before I knew it.
I skipped the walk, though. I was like, yeah, this isn't going to happen today.
I mowed 2 lawns. I can get by on this. So I didn't really get around to watching a whole lot. I guess I did watch a whole lot, but I didn't watch a whole lot for this show. I guested on Dan and Caleb's Netflix and Swill, and they had me watch 2 movies, which ended up having I had to watch 3 movies because Death Note came out on Netflix, and me and Lauren watched that. Terribly not impressed.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's
Not much promotion for it, though.
so it's not like I'm a huge fan of the anime, because I've never seen the anime. Lauren has actually seen more of the anime.
I've seen a few episodes of the anime, and I really enjoyed it, and I don't really care for anime. But yeah, no, Death Note was really cool. And then when I was like, oh, cool, Netflix is doing a movie. Oh,
yeah. From what I hear, it's a pale comparison to what the anime story is. But I'm just taking it as the film as a whole. Terrible editing, time jump issues, characterization issues. And then they put out these rules of the Death Note, and they make a point to tell you these rules. And then towards the end, they just start like thumbing their nose at these rules, but it's just it just seems like anything can happen at this point to write itself out of this story. I did find things about it interesting. I thought that Ryuk was very interesting looking. That is the character that is voiced by Willem Dafoe. I thought he was interesting looking. I thought that he was pretty dynamic. And I liked the kid that was in the lead role. I had seen him in some other stuff. And I mean, it's not like I was terribly impressed with him, but I could tell that he was the big draw. His name is Nate Wolff. He was in The Fault in Our Stars. Shit. Paper Towns.
No.
You like A Fault in Our Stars. That's
Wait,
like
which one?
That's like Nicholas Sparks type shit.
Which one was that one?
With a slight edge.
Yeah, that's the one where the girl's dying of cancer, right? And he like takes her out and shows her the world and makes her love just before she dies.
Edgar,
Did I watch that
Shailene
one?
Woodley.
Yeah, you watched it.
Oh, okay.
And then there's He's in Paper Towns.
I like Paper Towns.
Which is one people went nuts for
I haven't seen that
2
one yet.
years ago. He was in another one, Stuck in Love. But the film that he was in, also with his co-star of Death Note, was Palo Alto. And he was in that film with
That's a James Franco film.
Right, yeah, it is. So one of his co-stars from that was in Death Note with him, and she played his girlfriend. But I mean, overall, it just wasn't a well-crafted story, and you could tell that there was so much more story to tell. And I found out that the anime is like 38 episodes or something like that, and this is an hour-and-a-half movie. So I feel like some of the stuff they left on the cutting room floor was all character.
I think the main things that they brought from the anime was his obsession with apples, because even in the anime cartoon, he was obsessed with apples, and then the rules about the Death Note book. But other than that,
Which apparently in the anime I learned on Netflix and Swill, there's only 10 rules. And in the movie, like he's like, rule number 96.
yeah, there's like a. I didn't see how many rules were in the.
I think
anime.
there was 100. There's 100 in the movie, but there's like
okay, I didn't see how many.
like
I
10
just
in the
I
anime.
just saw a couple different ones where you have a time
That's
limit.
stupid.
right, and they make
Right.
a point. They
See,
make
it's cool to have a character to abide by 10 rules, but not 100. That's silly.
Well, it's arbitrary because they don't tell you what all 100 rules are. So,
Right.
Also, there's a point where they make it very specific that you'll never find out Ryuk's name, the demon, his name, and it's 4 letters, and only one person has gotten 2 letters of it, and then they died.
Right.
So because he wonders whether he can put Ryuk's name in the book.
In the book,
And
yeah.
Ryuk would die. So they make you think that's the end game, this Rumpelstiltskin game between Demon and Smart Boy that he's gonna have to figure it out. No, that does not play into it at all. That is like leaving a gun in a scene and then not using it again later on.
Yeah, it's brought up for what 2 seconds in the beginning once he first gets the book or something.
And then on Netflix and Swell, Dan brought up to me that they said in the book in Death Note it says someone has written "Do not trust Ryuk."
Yeah.
So he knows his name.
Right.
He doesn't even need to guess it. It was written out for him. In the margins, someone wrote "Do not trust Ryuk."
Right.
So
No, I do remember
So he
that.
he does know his name.
Yeah, no, William Dafoe even tells him his name because
Right.
he pronounced it incorrectly the first time, and then William Dafoe tells him the correct way.
Unless that's just a fake name, unless he was talking about a real name. But who cares? We're arguing semantics about a movie that it's worth one watch, I guess, if you got nothing else to do. Other than that, Jay, I watched Man with the Iron Fist and The Man with the Iron Fist 2. So I had to watch Man with the Iron Fist 2 for a review on Netflix and Swill for their dick pics. You take a random word from a random word generator, you type that word into a Netflix search, and then the movie that comes up is the movie that you
Right.
review. So Man with the Iron Fist came up. My word was Sting, so I don't know how the hell that came up. But I'd never seen Man with the Iron Fist 1, so I had to watch it. And in Man with the Iron Fist 1, it's like this poorly written, because it's written by Eli Roth and RZA, poorly written
Right.
with Russell Crowe. His absolute fattest you've ever seen Russell Crowe.
yeah, he's a big guy. in
he
that
Oh
is-
one.
my God, I forgot about that movie. Yeah.
He is a cannonball in that film.
I can't believe they got him to do this.
Oh man, I just felt like he had some time. But like it is produced by Quentin Tarantino, but it's not like a Troublemaker Studios film or anything like that. You can just tell Quentin Tarantino's like, I dig this idea, but he's like, well, I'm not gonna have too much involvement. You can do whatever you want.
Kind of like an Asian B-list movie almost of sorts.
No,
Like
it
where
was,
like
it was very much supposed to be
kinda-
reminiscent of like 70s kung fu films. Like it was very over the top. Everybody had elaborate like weapons and costumes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack was awesome. It was Wu-Tang. So like
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
yeah, the soundtrack was awesome. And the first one had like this really weird, like not weird, but like very poorly like told story and stuff like
See,
that.
I knew there was a first one, but I didn't hear anything about a second one.
Second
Yeah.
one is awful. And the worst part is the
Russell,
second
Russell
one,
Crowe was in that one too?
No, he's not in the second
Okay.
one. Only RZA comes back for the second
Okay.
one because he's the man with the iron fist, so you can't have that movie without RZA. I
Sure,
guess.
sure.
But you know, the first one is like this. The way they introduce characters is like a guy will be riding a horse and it'll be like X-Blade.
Oh my God.
He is the X-Blade. That's it. What's X-Blade doing? He's avenging somebody. Why is he avenging somebody? I don't know, but he's on his way to that town, and he's going to meet up with the guy who doesn't have iron fists, but you're going to learn how he gets iron fists.
You know, I'm really fascinated by Eli Roth because do you think he's a talented guy?
No.
Exactly.
When his name popped up on the screen, Dave was like, "Oh, this movie's going to be awful."
My theory is he is a rich guy who is probably really cool to hang out with
I
and
guess.
has a lot of friends, and somehow he's just able to make movies and be a part of things, and that's how he gets this shit off. Because they're all shit, and you could tell they're almost like pornographic in ways because he's
Yes.
like trying to get he's like a fetish filmmaker of sorts, and he's almost like blatantly so. More so than Quentin Tarantino.
Haven't really liked any of his films, but I did like him
No.
as the Bear Jew.
Like I gave Knock Knock a shot. I'm like, okay,
I've never seen it.
It seems like a simple little story film, you know, Keanu Reeves, and it's exactly what you would expect, and it is. It's stupid. But But
he's a gimmick guy. And his gimmick is gore.
I just still can't believe it though.
So
He's still making movies.
Man with the Iron Fist 1 and 2. Like, if you told me Man with the Iron... Oh, Danny Liu actually plays a character in it, and he looks exactly like his character from Kill Bill, because he was Pai Mei in Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
He plays almost the exact same character in this, to the point that I was like, produced by Quentin Tarantino. Maybe this is like the feudal version of Kill Bill. Maybe this takes place in that Kill Bill universe. I didn't look it up to find out whether it did or not, because I just decided that would only taint Kill Bill more if it was. They're not bad. The first one's worth a watch if you're into like that type of, homage to shitty kung fu movies, but definitely don't watch the second one. It's not worth it. The second one does have Shang Tsung in it from Mortal Kombat, the movie.
Oh, okay.
And he even sucks people's souls in it too. He doesn't say your soul is mine, but he says you're mine.
How old is he now?
Close enough.
Old as
'Cause
shit.
I feel like he was pretty old in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, he was probably in his late 40s then. You might also remember him from Johnny Tsunami, the Disney Channel film.
I've never seen
He
it.
played Johnny Tsunami's
Okay, I'm
grandfather.
sorry. No, I never saw that movie. I can't comment.
And other than that, obviously, which we'll get into after Jay goes through what he watched this weekend, is me and Lauren watched Game of Thrones, which is the whole reason that Lauren's here.
I watch bits and pieces of
Bits and pieces.
Of,
Bits and
in-
pizzas.
pieces
Bits and-
of Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's true. We did watch
Yeah.
Indiana Jones. We watched Temple of Doom, which
Dave
I had
found
to...
out I've never watched an entire Indiana Jones film from beginning to start. I've only seen pieces of each movie, so I kind of
Which has to be fucking rectified, like, soon.
How did it take this long for Dave to finally get you to sit down and watch one?
Because
never
she said
actually-
she's seen them before, so I'm not going to make her sit down and
Yeah,
watch a film
and
she
I
says
don't
she's
have
seen.
anything against the movies. I just never had the time to actually sit down and watch it from beginning to end because there's always something to do. And when you have a 3-year-old running around your house destroying it, someone needs to clean after the kid.
I did have to fast forward through some of the stuff in Temple of Doom, especially everything with Moharam, because I mean we did come up to the scene where he does reach into a man's chest and pull out his heart. So I had to just quick get out of that because Logan was like, I'm like, are you scared? Does it scare you? And she's like, nope. And then like 2 seconds later, like the guy's being lowered in a cage into the lava, and then she's sitting there and she has her hands curled up underneath her chin, and she's just like all tense. I was like, do you want me to change this? She's like, yeah.
She watched the scene where he like becomes the skull.
Yeah, she didn't mind
and
anything
she didn't
in the
care.
Last
Like
Crusade.
that didn't bother her at
Yeah,
all.
the Last Crusade, nothing bothered her
I was
in that
sitting there
at all.
looking at her face, and I'm like, oh god,
Yeah,
oh god.
that didn't
never
bother her,
mind.
but for some reason, the guy getting lowered into the lava pit, like that bothered her. All right, Jay, what did you watch this weekend?
Well, well, first of all, I'm just going to say that I had a horrible work weekend to come back from after having most of the week off because my grandmother passed and having her viewing and funeral and stuff like that. It was a busy week. And then to go in back to work, and it was probably one of the worst weekends in many times.
I could tell
So,
because we recorded Movie Cocktail Podcast for Howard the
God.
Duck this weekend, and you are not there. I
No.
mean, you're there, but you're not there.
Jay, I've never seen you run out of a house so quickly.
well, I did have a little dinner party. I was late for it, but
I was like, oh wow, Jay's gone already.
and it was one of the worst. So, I'm not going to get into details, but it was terrible. And I was though able to sneak out and see a double feature one night. And I saw 2 movies. The one movie I'm going to save for Jay's Indie Corner.
This from the guy who last week said that, no, I don't go to that many movies, maybe 1 or 2 a week. And I said he averaged 6 a month,
This
and
is
he said
because
1 or 2 a week.
This is
Right.
because being Signal and pretty much being lazy and not wanting to go out to bar scenes and whatever. I just literally go to the movie theater
That's called age,
and drink
motherfucker.
at the bar at the movie theater and just watch movies. So I saw Ingrid Goes West. And
Oh, that's with
yeah, Aubrey Plaza
Yes.
and Elizabeth Olsen. So this one's written by a guy that I never heard of before. He wrote it and directed it.
This is the one that's about social media,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Social
Yes.
media stalking and
the guy who did the film, he's a Philly boy or something,
Yeah,
right? He's
yeah.
right from the
Oh,
area.
is he?
Yeah, he was on Preston and Steve.
Yeah, he was on Preston.
How
and
did I
Steve.
miss that one?
Right.
Okay, that's a cool fun fact. He did a really good job with it because it's still very current. A lot of times, in movies, sometimes you see movies try to be current and hip on stuff
Right.
like that, and it's slightly dated almost feeling. This one really hits the mark, and it definitely follows Aubrey Plaza with an obvious obsession with social media and Instagram and like lifestyle Instagrammers and trying to emulate
She's
them
like
and follow them.
obsessed with someone who's
Well,
like-
she had a recent death. Her mom died, and
Okay.
she left her a little bit of money, and she's just has no real kind of
You're not.
responsibility.
This isn't the one you're saving for Indie Corner, is it?
No,
Okay, go. Keep going then.
I'm not going to mention that until Indie Corner. But she has a traumatic incident with one of the girls that she stalks, bounces, follows another one, goes
okay.
to
So
Venice,
it's like
California.
multiple people that she's
Yeah,
obsessed with.
it's almost
okay,
like
I
one
thought it was
after
like
another.
One character
Yep.
that she. Okay.
She hits the fan, and then she has to like find another.
Oh, all right.
So she goes to Venice, California, and she.
I mean, it's interesting because you do hear news stories all the time about, like Taylor Swift just put a restraining order on the man who stalked her for the past
honestly,
3 months. He stands outside her gated
When
house.
you
Right.
really think
like-
about it, it's not that hard.
No, but that's,
know-
but I mean that fascinates me. Like, what drives that person? When you hear these stories about celebrities and their stalkers and stuff, like what drives that person to do that? I mean, it's not that
They-
only celebrities get stalked. I mean,
No, exactly.
there are people who pick people out on social media and like, God, that girl was beautiful. And
Right.
I know, like, I'm saying like only men do this, but when it comes down to stalking women, it generally only is men stalking women. But
Usually, yeah.
I do like the take of this where it is a woman who's becoming obsessed.
Exactly. And she does a lot of shady things, and and it does go to heightened realities at times, but Aubrey Plaza, I've never seen her better. Like she really stretched as an actor, with different kind of emotions and also different little nuances. You just see how she, subtle looks and glances and little twitches that she does.
How's that lazy eye doing now? She hide it well now?
It worked in its favor for this film, with
Leave
this
her
role.
lazy eye.
No, I'm
alone.
kidding. She's actually very adorable. You barely notice her lazy eye.
You do. You barely.
Do you ever
it. It's
notice
true.
my lazy eye?
No.
All right.
I think that's
You
just,
always say that all the time. You have a lazy. You don't.
I do have a lazy eye.
I've never noticed that. No.
Everyone.
I
has
did when
a
I was a
lazy
kid,
eye.
but I think
slightly.
I think it's straightened out.
Maybe
I don't know.
That happened to me.
When Jay got hit in the head, his lazy eye straightened out, but he lost a lot of brain cells.
It all works out. See?
It works out.
So she follows this girl named Taylor, played by Elizabeth Olsen,
Okay.
who I have a little girl crush on. I
know you saw Wind River. You saw Wind River last week.
I know.
which
So it was an
her-
interesting, double feature. 1 week prior, I saw her in a dramatic role playing an FBI agent, and now I'm seeing her as like this Instagram lifestyle model. Just trying to like be, hip and like put
good-
out on a front on the
It's a good
scene.
thing that you didn't see Wind River and Ingrid Goes West back to back, because you might have been fapping in the theater before long and have a whole bunch of restraining orders against you.
I don't know about that. I mean, she's she's
out of
not
the
a
theater,
she's
sir.
not.
Can I still go to the bar? Can I still go to the bar? I don't want to see the movies. I just want to go to the bar.
Well, she does a really interesting job with finding that balance of like you can tell like she's alluring. You kind of like her, but there's a lot of things about her that you don't like. She's not a really good person. She's just almost as insecure as Aubrey Plaza is in some ways.
Okay.
And but she has like a slight privilege to her. Like she is a little bit more successful as far as financially, a little bit more, just successful in general in the Instagram world, having millions of followers, and she has better friends and better life and contacts, and she's got this husband. Blah, blah,
That's totally me with the Super Movie Brothers Twitter. I have stalkers.
I'm sure you do.
Someone stalk me, please.
Nobody
Nobody stalks me.
stalks me.
No. I think my personal account has like 1,000 followers. Our Twitter account for the show, 5,000 followers. It's not like we're swimming in people. That's.
But yeah, it really does is a great word, hauntingly accurate job, I think, with
Cool.
The aspects of Instagram and self-image and just
So
how it is in the current market. That's only still growing. I mean, that's the thing. It's only going to get more crazy. I mean, obviously we plug this show all the time. Black
Mirror. Yep.
I mean, it's fucking real and it's coming.
Speaking of which, Black Mirror season 4 is coming.
It's
It is
Returning,
coming
yep.
soon. I know.
They had
I'm
the
excited.
worst trailer ever for it, but it was enough.
I haven't seen that.
It's enough to whet my appetite. It literally just shows you the episode titles and then one like 1 second footage from each of the one episodes. That's it.
Yeah, so this movie is worth checking out. But
Definitely.
Other than that, still trying to struggle through our good old Marvel series, The Defenders.
Yeah,
So-
I knew you were.
But I didn't have time to really watch it, so I haven't gotten through it yet. But
well.
so getting through there.
Sorry about your grandma, man.
Thank you.
We're gonna move in to our Game of Thrones season finale discussion now, which is what Lauren's been waiting for because she was begging me to not go on with Netflix and Swill last night and do their episode because she just wanted to talk about it. She needed to process it. So
Understandable.
I said that she needs to come on so that she can talk about it here. So that way she can process, she can vent, and she can talk about all
Yeah,
I got to talk to my
rolling around
beer
on
about
the
it.
floor, just screaming
true.
the same thing
That's
over
true.
and over again in the pillow.
I can't wait. I can't wait that long. He was an undead man on an undead dragon. Everything's unnatural. She's curled up on the ball, just laying on the... Not drunk. She was not drunk.
Wow.
He did ask me. He was like, "You're doing this because you're drunk." I'm like, "I'm not though. That's the problem. I'm not drunk."
I just saw a man flying a dragon and
Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning.
So I mean, let's go through the episode. We know how our Ocean's 11 heist with Jon Snow panned out, and we know that the plan is to take the wit to King's Landing, and they choose the Dragon Pit as their meeting point, which I thought was pretty telling. There's one thing
Aesthetically very beautiful and interesting. Yeah.
well, it's also and Danny mentions it that this is kind of the beginning of the end for
Right.
the Targaryens, which I thought was great foreshadowing. I'll get into how my theories and stuff and how I think. I'm not going to get deep into theories. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm just going to say who I think is going to make it to the end and stuff like that, and how they'll die. Blah blah blah. A little bit. But one of the things that threw me for a loop right off the bat. We see Grey Worm standing with the Unsullied right outside
Yes.
of King's Landing, and
That's
me and Lauren are both just like, "Oh, we're gonna see how Casterly
We
Rock
didn't know
works
where
out."
we were, right?
No mention that,
Right.
That well, ever since everyone abandoned Casterly Rock and Euron sailed back to King's Landing, I
There's
guess
no-
Grey Worm just like looked around and just went,
Okay, what's the point?
"Fuck it, let's go."
Yeah.
and he left. And here I had thought that, well, I mean, eventually, we're gonna have to see Euron, lay siege to Casterly Rock, and we're going to see Unsullied starving to death and dying of disease. Like, I really wanted to see a siege like that. Like, they talk about way back that Stannis is the one that held Storm's End, and it was a siege, and most of them were dying. It's how Davos came to power, because Davos is the Onion Knight. He smuggled onions into Dragonstone and saved Stannis and his men, and he was rewarded by having the tips of his fingers cut off by Stannis, because he said one good deed does not undo a lifetime of crime. But he did give him lordship, and he gave him a house, and that's how he became Davos Seaworth. So I wanted to see something like that. I wanted to see a siege. Obviously, we're not going to get it now. It's not happening
No.
because Grey Worm and his Unsullied just sauntered out of Casterly Rock and I guess walked,
Yeah, there wasn't any kind of fight sequence whatsoever in this
and just-
episode.
Yeah, what was? I mean, what
Not
was
even
the
like
point?
one,
I know.
like one-on-one duel, like nothing. Like
they
it wasn't-
wrote there was a duel of words.
Well, I mean, swords. I'm thinking like swords.
I
Like
know
a good
you
old
are.
fight.
I
But there was a great duel of
But
words.
historically, that is not how Game of Thrones season finales go. There
I know,
generally
but being
isn't
like
a
an
big
hour and a half,
episode.
I felt like
Right.
there would fit something in maybe. And again, there wasn't really that much.
I mean, there was-
death.
there
I
wasn't
expected
a-
more deaths.
There wasn't a fight last year. I mean, we got the destruction of the Sept of Baelor, and we got King Tom
No, I know,
jumping out of the window.
I know.
There
just
was no-
being the longest episode of Game of Thrones history. I
Oh,
just
Jay,
kind of
don't you know anything yet? There's always just one big death at the end of Game
was
of
good.
Thrones.
I mean, it was good.
But this episode gave me everything that I've been bitching to you about for this whole season. We got all of our character development. We got like all of everyone's motivations, and there still wasn't enough time to tell it all.
Right.
So we're in King's Landing, and we get that awesome meeting of like here comes Cersei's side, here comes Daenerys and Jon's side, and
But how about that walk?
that was great. That's what I'm
How
talking
I
great
about.
loved
was
it.
that? That was
Loved it.
amazing.
Everyone
as far
gets
as,
to see each other.
But like the little interactions and talking between like all the little characters that haven't seen each other in so long.
I love Braun when he's like, "You gonna suck his little magic cock," Just like- and you can tell that like Braun still respects Tyrion, and Tyrion still respects Braun, despite the fact. I mean, he's never asked anything of Braun. It's not like he asked Braun to go with him to Essos or anything like that. Yes. Braun's just being who he is, and I think
he goes where the money is.
Yeah, and Tyrion can respect that.
Yeah. And two of some of our favorite giants, being civil and talking about Arya. They're like stepdaughter of sorts,
Right, right.
And that was lovely. It was kind of nice to see them do that.
I think the Hound was satisfied when he found out that she was still alive.
No, I think he was. Yeah, in a weird way, I feel like she's more into him than...
They will be together next year. I guarantee it. I guarantee you Arya and the Hound will be fighting together. They'll be doing something together. Because that's a reunion.
Someone may have to get her back to King's Landing.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking. I think he has unfinished business in King's Landing in killing his brother, which they teased the Clegane Bowl this week that Sandor Clegane was gonna fight Gregor the Mountain Clegane, and it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Instead, it was just kind of like a dick measuring contest, and he was staring into those creepy reddish bloodshot eyes.
Right.
Yeah, there's some weird looking skin underneath that mask.
Stared vacantly back at him, and that was it. And I was a little perturbed that I didn't get to see that, but then I was like, you know what? This makes me want it more. It just makes me want
it. Because in a way, if they did it last night, it would have been cut short.
It was like WWE. It was like he walked up and he's like,
"Ooh, brother, you know what? Next time I see you, I'm going to cut the mountain down. Ooh, yeah.
It's back, baby.
I'm going to go pick up this whip and just kick it over in front of the queen. Oh, yeah."
But you know what? The most interesting thing I thought about this whole sequence was the fact of the directing and the editing of how they were able to shoot this with so many characters, with the actors having to be on point in character,
editing was
with
great.
different looks and nuances and like emotions and acting, and when to hold a scene and build tension and stuff like that.
Editing was great, pacing notwithstanding though. Like there was some pacing issues I found particularly in the Winterfell scenes.
Well, overall in the episode, sure.
And it's stuff that they omitted probably for time. We just have to assume that a conversation between Bran, Sansa, and Arya all took place that wasn't on camera. Right. We just have to assume that.
Yes. So that sequence was tricked for viewership. It was. It was, and it was a little too obvious. I thought.
It was purposely deceptive through omission.
Yes. But it was satisfying enough where you just allow it, and it worked in that way.
Before we get there, I mean, we'll finish up with everything that happened in King's Landing.
Sure.
So the Hound goes and fetches the White. There's a great back and forth between Euron and Tyrion that I absolutely loved.
That came out of nowhere,
where he's just like, "You wouldn't even been born on Pike. We would have drowned you the second you came screaming out of your mother." And then the Hound kicks over the box, and the White goes walking, and it comes like very close to Cersei's face. Yeah. Even like snaps at her, and
I know. I think he let it go a little bit closer so that she can see this is for real.
And I like the fact that it showed that the Hound is. He fears and respects the wits a little bit, because there's that point where he's in the boat and he gingerly walks up and he just taps on it and it starts going off, and he kind of flinches and he's like, "Oh, it's still there." And then even when he goes to kick it over, you can tell in his mind he's like, "Well, all right, how do I do this? This thing's obviously just curled up in fetal position, laying here, not doing anything." And he's like, "If I tip it over, it could very easily just turn around and come after me."
Right.
Every character respects those things. Yeah. They really do it. They're really trying to make.
And even Cersei's like, "I'm not. I can't just." And I don't think, even though she was being deceptive, I don't think she outright lied about her feelings. Like she said that, "How can I deny this? Like, this will destroy us all." But we also know that she doesn't give a flying fuck. She will watch the world burn to pay for what's happened to her and her family.
That's her character, and that's how she is, and that's how she learned throughout the years behind men.
So we get this great scene, which is a great character moment for Jon. After Euron says, if those things can't swim, I'm going to go sit back on my islands, which is also a double cross into itself. But
at the time, he sold it.
Yeah,
Yes,
And it kind of made sense,
hook, line, and sinker for me. I was like, okay.
Because you saw Cersei's face, and she looked shocked, and you're like, the fuck? Where is he going?
But you kind of get it, as the character. And, if this is like that dire of an issue, why bother?
And
why if you can be safe on your own, little island with
they
your
got together.
Yeah.
And they planned things. So we don't even know what else they've planned together.
We don't even know that's Jaime's baby.
Right.
That
we
could
don't
be
know.
Euron's baby.
It could be.
And she just told Jaime that's his to keep him on the hook.
Right.
But so after Euron leaves, Cersei basically pledges that the Lannisters will give men to fight. The only thing that Jon has to do is protect the North for her.
Right. And stay in the North after this is all done.
Right.
Don't come back. Right.
And he can't. And that's I loved how everyone gave him shit about it. Like, why do a little white lie, would have helped in this situation. And I love Jon's theory on it is that, if I'm to be trusted, respected, and I'm supposed to be honorable, even if I lie, even if it's a little lie to get the things that I want, then no one can ever trust my honor again.
Right. I know what? Even Daenerys, even though she would have been okay with him staying in the North, or at least saying he was going to stay in the North, and then he doesn't stay in the North. But when he came out, was like, no, I can't do that. I pledge my loyalty to her. I think that was the moment where she's like, yep.
Never
trust
has
this guy.
Jon been more Ned. Than in this episode.
Right.
Which
and they said Ned's name a lot.
Right. And it's obvious that they did this on purpose because this is the episode where we find out that he is a Targaryen.
Right. And we'll probably talk about that later.
Or at least made it official.
But it's now official. But we need to
There's so much
be
foreshadowing,
reminded that even though he's a Targaryen, that doesn't change who Jon is. Jon was still raised by Ned Stark, which is why we get that great speech with Jon and Theon, and he's just like, you're a Stark too. You were raised
Greyjoy and you're Stark. You're both.
You can be both, and he doesn't know it yet, but he's giving himself that advice.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how he handles that.
So after Jon denies which was basically bending the knee to Cersei. After he denies her that, she throws a hissy fit, walks off, and leaves, and everyone's left there with thumbs up their asses. We're fucked. we're fucked. And Tyrion puts his life in his own hands, puts his life in Cersei's hands, and goes in.
Yeah, he played the hero role.
It is a 20-minute conversation that happens between Tyrion and Cersei throughout a couple scenes, and it was
long awaiting.
But it was probably, oh my god, that when he stood up and she acknowledges that he did not kill Joffrey, but she still blames him for Marcella and for Tommen's death because Tywin
and
wasn't.
And of course, Dad's death.
Right. Well, because Tywin wasn't there, since Tyrion killed Tywin, since Tywin the father wasn't there, he wasn't able to protect the family.
That's when the acting blew me away, and I was real. You could feel the emotion behind every single word between those two
actors.
And
he stands up, and I love when he looks at her and he goes, and I also killed our mother, and he's like, maybe you would like to have me killed. And he starts getting angry, and he starts saying, just do it, and
because he's tired of hearing the same shit.
He went full Shia LaBeouf. Do it.
I listen to it every morning.
Jay actually doesn't listen to music when he runs or when he
Shia LaBeouf
cycles.
Self-help audio, yeah.
And I did love the fact that he got so heated, he got so flustered. We do see him dipping into drinking every now and then, even though he's not as
yes,
drunk.
I did like that. Yeah,
he walks over and he downs a glass of wine, and then he remembers, he pours and he leaves her a glass, and then he goes back and drinks another glass himself. That type of little stuff I really enjoyed. He comes back to the Dragon Pit, getting what he feels like is what he wanted. Cersei will send the Lannister army. There will be an armistice, and they will deal with each other when the threat from the north has been dealt with. And everybody kind of parts ways, and they're all like, all right, well, we all got our missions, and we're going to head our own way, except for Theon, who had his redemption moment, where it was...
Again, another redemption.
Well, no, I mean, what I would say is... he redeemed himself when he saved Sansa a bit, but he wasn't done atoning. That was the moment that he became Theon again. The last bit of reek died on that beach when he was fighting that other Ironborn.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what it was. You know, it was Theon coming back out. And then we were watching that video today where someone brought up the symbolism that the Ironborn they have this belief in the drowned god, and you know, you can only become king of the Iron Isles. And we saw this when Euron took over. He had to walk out into the surf and basically drown,
right,
and then survive and come back. So,
right.
So it's this death worship, you know, that you give yourself, you give all of yourself
Over to the water,
right?
yeah.
Over to everything, over to your people, over to everything, over to your beliefs, you know, to your death. And you know, if you believe in the drowned god, he can bring you back. That was you know, Theon being brought back. You know, he was getting his ass beat. And all he had to do was just keep standing up and standing up. And of course, I guess the big payoff for the fact that he'll never get his dick back is nobody can knee me in the balls anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy tried 3 times. And I'm like,
He had a creepy smile on his face, though. Like, after, like, he's like, it didn't hurt. And then all of a sudden, he just started pounding on.
I think it's the first time he's gotten kneed in the balls since his balls been chopped
I even told
off.
Lauren, I was like, is this supposed to make me feel better that he doesn't have a dick anymore? Because I don't. I still feel bad for him. I don't care what else he does. I don't care what happens to him. I will always feel bad for him because he doesn't have a dick. I will always
true.
pity him. He takes about 20 men, and he's going to...
Even though he was a really big dick to John Wick, you know?
Oh, my God.
He killed his dog.
He killed his puppy. I know.
Fuck him. God.
That was 2014.
I never got
Leave
over
him
that.
alone.
I never got over that.
So he takes these 20 Ironborn, and he's going after Yara. He's going to go save his sister, who he believes is going to be on Pike. She's
Yep,
gonna
still
be
alive and kicking.
on the Iron Isles. We'll find out later where she may actually be. So with that, we kind of leave the whole King's Landing stuff alone for a while. We go back north, and we see Sansa dealing with the news of last week that her sister sees her as a traitor, that her sister doesn't trust her, that her sister may even want her dead, and that her sister definitely doesn't want her as the Lady of Winterfell because she doesn't think that she actually has Jon's back. And we know that Arya's always had the deepest relationship with Jon. As she's talking with Peter, you know, Peter's also feeling like he's still tutoring her in the ways of...
And he has the upper hand with her.
He feels he's getting everything he's wanted out of this. In the end, he will control the Vale and he will control the North.
Right.
Thus,
Classic Peter scene, you know.
when the smoke settles between the White Walkers and when the smoke settles with Cersei, he will be the, at least military-wise, the most powerful man.
Right.
Because he will control the North and the Vale, and no one would be able to stop him from taking the Iron Throne. Except, you know, the Three-Eyed Raven, who sees and knows
everything,
all.
right?
And this is what I'm getting at. Obviously, there had to be a conversation between Bran, Arya, and
Do you find it
Sansa.
surprising that he doesn't really know who the Three-Eyed Raven is, like Peter, and like when he finds out like who he
No,
is?
because that was something that existed beyond the wall. He's a politician. He exploits politicians. The Three-Eyed Raven.
Because throughout the series, he just seemed like he knew everything.
He doesn't know.
And
how would he know that?
I don't know.
How would his little spies go beyond the wall and then come back? Like
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I don't know. For some reason, whatever. But
not even Sam knew what the Three-Eyed Raven was.
Yeah, even he was confused, right?
It's just like, hello, Bran. I'm not Bran anymore. I'm the Three-Eyed Raven.
Okay.
like, oh, nice.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
I don't know what that is. So there's a trial, and Arya's being put on trial, basically, for her crimes against you know, she's committed murder and all this other stuff. And as the charges start mounting, you start realizing
You're like, oh,
and this is
you know how this is turning out, right?
I'm not tooting my own horn. This is exactly how I told Lauren that
Dave
Littlefinger
called
would
this
die.
like 10 minutes before the scene happened.
But I also
He did
knew
call.
all year that
This is the reason
that
why
Winter-
Jeanette won't watch anything. My sister won't watch anything with Dave that she's never seen before because she knows that Dave can guess endings and scenes.
I hate that too. I mean, my dad's like that too. He's always like trying to call out. Like I'm like, stop fucking trying to ruin it for everybody. Like I'm the type of person that I just like to let it wash over me and just kind of like take it as it is and then reflect upon it and, you know, whatever. But first of all, I mean, I always call it. I said that Arya was going to kill him.
Obviously.
Right. Oh,
like,
yeah, we were saying
a long
it for a
time ago.
while, right.
And it was very fittingly done. And I thought it was really nice to see the family come together.
I would have liked it to have,
But
I would
like
have
we talked about earlier, it came out of nowhere. Like we were tricked, like beyond tricked.
It's true.
I mean, they set the whole thing up, gearing towards.
But you know what? We couldn't see Bran and Sansa and Arya together
But at the
because
same
then we
time-
would have known what was
But
coming
but
up.
at the same time, it does make sense because Sansa has been learning throughout the years, and she even says it when in front of Littlefinger.
And now she
you know,
has the
I may be a slow learner,
Right.
but I am learning, and
Right.
you taught me well, and thank you for your final lesson.
And now
the
she
other
has
day,
the
and-
ultimate little bird. She's the ultimate spy because
Yeah.
she has Dr. Manhattan, the three-eyed raven, who sees
Exactly.
everything.
Right.
So it
She's got the ultimate spy.
it worked for me. I mean, especially at the very end, I was it threw me for a loop, and I loved it.
All right, final scenes. We are treated to a final.
Can we talk about sex now?
No, we're going
Okay,
to.
okay.
But we're treated to one final scene with Cersei, where she's talking with Jaime, and she's told him how he's
Something
always
you did not guess
been
was going
the
to happen.
stupidest of the Lannisters, just the absolute dumbest of the Lannisters.
Well, especially after her interaction with Tyrion,
the fact that
realizing how smart he is and
Right.
how much balls he has to go into that room and confront her.
and the fact that Jaime didn't see the deception in everything that she was doing. So Cersei, Euron did not go back to Pike. He flew to Essos. he got on his ships.
American Airlines.
And he took him to Essos, and he's going to come back with the Golden Company, who is probably the world's greatest mercenary group, and they're going to come back with 20,000 men and elephants, and they are going to take back everything that Daenerys has taken while her and her people are off fighting in the north.
Right.
So she's going to win half the war before they are even done, and while
Right.
their numbers are dwindling fighting the dead, Cersei will secure footholds in the south, and that's their plan.
I just hope they don't waste a lot of episodes next season on that.
I don't think so. I think we're getting right into the war for the North. And
Yeah, I
then,
think it's gonna
And then
be-
we're going to go right after Cersei, right after that. And then we're going
Right.
to get a rushed ending. And Jaime finally showed some balls where he's like, you saw it, right? And we know that Jaime will do the honorable thing,
Right.
even if it goes against code, even if it goes against family. He
Right.
killed...
He's done it already.
Yeah, he killed the Mad King because not because the Mad King, not because his father was laying siege to King's Landing. He killed the Mad King because the Mad King was going to set
Right.
all of King's Landing on fire just to protect himself.
Right.
Yeah.
And here he is. He's already seen what his sister's willing to do to blow up the Sept of Baelor, and now he realizes his sister is literally willing to let the world turn into the long night forever, just so she doesn't, lose pretty
Right.
much.
Now, I've only been able to see this episode once so far. Can you explain to me the horseback scene when Jaime leaves? What happened there?
So Jaime's leaving.
Because I don't remember exactly what happened. And
he looks at his gold
I'm
hand and realizes that. So if you don't know, Jaime says "fuck all" and he leaves, and he is riding. He's a lone horseman riding
right.
to the north.
Right.
He's gonna join. He's gonna join Brienne. He's gonna join Jon up, and they're gonna fight the White Walkers. He notices that his hand is obviously a telltale sign of who he is, so he puts on a black glove to cover the
Right.
golden hand. And then
A drop of snow hits.
as he's doing that, one snowflake
Right.
hits his glove, and you can actually see it's almost like the light gets turned down a little bit, and it gets it gets very very blue, and you can tell that winter has reached the south now.
Okay.
And then they show the scene with her map on the floor,
Right.
and snow is falling in
And
there.
snow is falling. Snow is falling in the map room as well. So
So it's just a scene to show mostly that he's going to the north and that
And
winter
that-
has come to the south.
and he's
essentially.
giving up the whole Lannister
And right,
look
right.
and
everything. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So then we are treated to the scene where right after Sam has a conversation with Bran, and Sam rejogs his memory about learning about Rhaegar and Ilya Martell's annulment, and that he married Lyanna Stark. that makes Jon not a bastard,
Not
and
a
this
bastard.
is this revelation is brought through Bran, who saw the birth of Jon Snow in the Tower of Joy. Finally, the two characters who seem to have the biggest pieces of the puzzle were
Right.
together for the last 30 seconds of the show to put it together, and we learn that Jon has a name, and it's Aegon Targaryen. So
Wasn't it something sand?
no, that's what Bran thought it
That's
was.
what Bran thought
because
it
he was
was.
a bastard born in Dorne,
Right.
making
Okay.
him a Sand, which technically wouldn't be true because it's where your father's from. So he would have been a Rivers because Targaryen bastards were called Rivers. But anyway, but he's not a bastard. He's a Targaryen, and
Right.
that is confirmed by Sam because he remembered what Gilly said.
Right, in the private diary.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, right there, we now know that he has the strongest claim to the throne. And as that scene is going on, we get our first glimpse of what Rhaegar Targaryen looked like. And Lauren and both me were like, that's the guy who played Viserion, right? That's the guy who
It
played...
looks exactly like him. I mean, I get it. They're brothers and they
Yeah.
all look alike. But yeah, I was like, oh, I wonder if they brought like the same
It
guy
definitely
back.
wasn't the same guy. This guy was a little bit bigger.
You're right, and Viserys' nose was a little bit
Longer.
longer when you
Right.
saw it from the side.
But, it's the first time we've seen Rhaegar, a character whose name gets mentioned at least 10 to 12 times a
Right.
season. We finally got to see what he looked like, and we got a brief glimpse of him and Lyanna's marriage, just justifying that Jon is the rightful heir to the throne. And while this conversation is going on, and we're talking about the birth of Jon Snow, we get to see Jon knocking on Daenerys' door, and
She lets him in.
she lets him in more ways
And
than one.
Tyrion looks on and knows exactly what's going on. And
Now, here's something so one of the things I was picking up on, they're talking about the birth of Jon Snow, and she keeps mentioning, I can't have children. I can't have children.
Right.
Losing a
Mention it, what?
dragon. It's like
2
losing
episodes
one
in
of
a
my
row.
children.
Right.
And even Tyrion, one of his conversations with her was, what are we going to do about successors after
Right,
you sit
you
on the throne?
can't-
And she got upset. So isn't it pretty obvious that just by them laying together, she's going to become
She's
pregnant?
definitely going to get pregnant.
She's going to get pregnant. I mean, that's just 100% for sure.
and he'll be the king, and he's going to have an heir.
It's Game of Thrones.
I know.
Never know.
Daenerys will more than likely die in childbirth, and Jon will die fighting for something. He will die.
That
fighting.
or one of our other theories, they do have a kid together, and they're like, well, we have no other choice. We
have to be together.
we
for
have to
this
be
child.
together because this kid's going to take over after
just like
we're
just
done.
like a real marriage with kids.
Right. You're just kind of stuck with each other now.
So while that conversation's going on, and they're getting down to Bone Town, and the only person who is witness to this is Tyrion, and he looks very upset.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what he's really upset about. Is it because
I think he's concerned. I don't think he's upset. I feel like he's concerned. That's
On
all.
one
it is.
of the YouTube videos you were watching, I don't know if it was like the stupid kid that I didn't like.
Oh, I didn't listen to anything that kid said.
Someone mentioned that he's clearly in love with her, and I'm like,
He's not. No,
I'm like,
No,
I don't
no.
think so.
not in that way. No,
Not
no.
in that way, right? That he.
How many
wanted
people can
to
be in love
her.
with this woman in this show? I mean,
No,
come on.
Right.
I think it was simply just a concern in a political way. Like I think he's just. It had nothing to do with personal emotion.
Also, when it comes down to parentage later on, when someone's like, "Well, whose kid is it?" There is one person, even if Jon
Besides
is
the
dead,
three-eyed
or-
raven,
right,
to
or
vouch.
Daenerys,
Right.
who can say that Jon laid with Daenerys, and
Right.
that's how we know whose kid this is.
Right.
So it's ironic that this kid would be a bastard if they don't get married soon, though. They have a kid. Then, after that scene, we are treated to probably the biggest what the fuck moment. We find out why Viserion had to die and what a White Walker riding an undead dragon mount looks like. And we see Tormund manning the wall at Eastwatch, and there is a black cloud of mist coming, and snow starts falling, and the White Walkers just appear from the forest, and not like it wasn't like those scenes where you see like 4 or 5 White Walkers sitting on top of their horses just staring down at everything.
Nope.
It was every single White Walker, like the white snow was black with all
Right.
their moving bodies. And then you hear the cries of the dragon, and he just shows up and he blasts the wall with Viserion's blue fire. and the wall comes crumbling down, and the last shot of the series of the season is the White Walkers crossing through the
Or is
wall.
it like ice power?
No, it's definitely fire, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's still
if
fire,
you think
it's
about
just blue.
if you think about a butane flame or like a torch, what's the height? It's it goes kind of like red, orange, yellow,
Oh, blue.
blue.
Right.
That's the hottest.
That's the hottest,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, you're right.
Blue
You're
and
right.
white are the hottest parts of a flame.
Mm-hmm.
So his fire's strong, man. It's fucking strong.
Obviously, to take down that
They
fucking
took
wall.
down the wall. But also, we've heard Uncle Benjamin say in the first season that some say that the wall is imbued with magic from the children of the forest, which means that only a creature of magic like a dragon should be able to take it down.
Right.
It wasn't just fire melting ice. It was also, dragons are creatures of magic as well. So it makes sense that they would be able to take down the structure that supposedly is magical.
So much easier than
Yeah.
just climbing on the wall. Like,
Like the wildlings tried to do, right? And Mance Rayder should have had a dragon a long time ago.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild scene, and it was cool to see the wall fall down. I mean, it was pretty decent CGI, and but it was a little chaotic as far as the men
Who was
on
dying?
the other side that were
Doesn't
dying.
matter.
Like it
Doesn't matter.
Tormund's not dead.
Yeah.
Tormund
Well,
Giant's
No,
dead.
they would show
They would
his
show
death.
him dying.
Of course.
He will probably ride for Winterfell now.
Yeah,
to
he'll
warn
be the
everybody
witness, yeah.
that it's
real and it's
here.
here, yeah.
It's here now. So, woo! So that's gonna do it
Pretty much it.
for our
Yeah,
discussion
wraps it up.
on Game of Thrones season 7 episode. No, yes,
Yeah.
Season 7, episode 7.
Yep.
So, if you want to reach out to us on Twitter, let us know what you thought of the season as a whole. We're not gonna do like a whole season review. I can definitely tell you this was not my favorite season of the series. However, the season finale was pretty fucking bonkers. But I'm still having problem with their pacing. The pacing.
It's
really-
only going to get worse.
It is going to get worse next year when we have.
I feel like
6
this is like part 1, and next season is like part 2 of the same
Right.
thing.
There's going to be 6 episodes, each one somewhere around the length of this episode. So each one will be between 80 and 90 minutes or so. Probably I guarantee you, the series finale will be 2 hours. I guarantee you that it'll be a 2-hour thing. Filming doesn't.
It's gonna be like the Lord of the Rings. It just when you think it's gonna end, it doesn't end.
Filming doesn't start yet. For
In a
quite
couple
some
weeks,
time.
I thought.
And supposedly not all
October?
the scripts are written. There's like
Okay.
conflicting reports. They're doing a pretty good job of throwing some smoke and mirrors up there for people.
Yeah.
But the rumor is we might not get the 8th season until 2019
Ugh.
or late 2018.
I don't believe it.
Well, if you want them to rush it, you're getting 2018,
Yeah.
I guess.
I'm optimistic.
Do you want those very short scenes that have like no meaning, where it's just like, and it sounds like an 8-year-old was writing it, and then again, and then they do this, and then the Night King, and
Well, if it's script related, yeah, okay, fuck it. I'll wait. I'd rather see quality.
I'll tell you what, I am, as someone who reads the books,
Get those
I am
scripts
kind
done
of
right.
excited about the fact that this is moving in this way, because now when I read the books, I'm not going to feel like I'm missing, like I'm reading something that I already know what's going to happen, because there's so much minutia that goes on in the books and so much stuff that happens in the in-between, all these small character moments, and there's some characters in the books that are going to be alive, that are dead in the show.
Right.
That are gonna be, so it's going to be, it'll still be interesting to go and read the books.
So you ever going to finish the books?
No, probably not. No.
No, he's like, oh, I'll watch the TV show.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
would
how it
you have
ends.
liked to have seen like a spinoff
Yeah.
before the finale?
We're going to see
season?
one.
Like,
before
no,
the
one
season
starts
finale.
before
Or before the
next
series
season.
finale.
No,
I'm sorry.
no. Let this finish out before
Just
you
to kind of
start.
like whet our appetite before,
No,
because
no.
it's going
Let
to be
this
so
fin-
long until we watch it.
No,
again.
because that's what they did with Walking Dead
Yeah.
and Fear the Walking Dead. They brought Fear the Walking Dead in right before
4 or
Walking
5
Dead.
seasons in, yeah.
Right. And
No, just let this run its course, and then try your hand at that. Let that run its course. Just
yeah. Okay.
give shit some.
Just
time.
curious.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Don't saturate your market, Star Wars.
It's true. This is it's kind of like Star Wars. Yeah.
So
Less is more.
So stay tuned, because coming up next, we are going to go into Jay's Indie Corner. He's going to pour himself a bourbon neat, and he is going to give us his indie film for this week, and I am going to give you a fake synopsis. So stay tuned. rejoice because that's the last time that we're going to talk about Game of Thrones. At least
For a long time.
yeah, at least those listeners who aren't interested in Game of Thrones can rejoice because we're not going to be talking about Game of Thrones. Coming up next, Westworld. No, no, we don't go as in depth into Westworld as we do Game of Thrones.
It's not that kind of show, really.
Yeah, it's not a phenomenon yet. But we're back for Jay's Indie Corner.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jay, you have an indie film that you want to talk about this week, and I'm going to have to come up with a fake synopsis on the spot because you did not give me the name of it yet.
Yes, I just saw this in theaters, and it's called Good Time.
Okay. Good Time is about a hapless loser type guy. He's about 6'7". He's single. He hangs out at the bar alone a lot. and
I kind of like this guy.
And while drinking alone at the bar, he goes into the bathroom and he sees for a good time call, and he calls the random number, and almost like The Hangover, where like just a series of crazy events is just going to occur for this character. So he calls the number, and it tells him to meet them at a certain spot. So he goes there. A white van pulls up, and he gets dragged into it, and he goes on this crazy whirlwind adventure throughout the city. Yeah. I don't have everything beat by beat, but
no, but that's all the movie is.
Yeah, it starts.
It's an endless loop of good times.
It starts with one of those for a good time call. No, the irony of it is that he called for a good time, but he didn't have a good time. He had to hilariously fight his way out of every situation.
But that's the good time.
I guess. he later appreciates his life
exactly
because he had to earn it. So he knows how to have a good time.
It's teaching you.
Yeah, it's teaching lessons, and of course he'll make some friends along the way, and he'll never be lonely again. But he doesn't get laid. We're not telling that type of story.
Just like me.
Yeah, forever.
Can't get laid.
Forever staying sexually frustrated.
Yes. So, Good Time is written and directed by Benny and Josh Safdie. It's the follow-up to 2014's Heaven Knows What that I just recently reviewed.
Yeah, it's true, you did.
And
who was this? Who directed it? Who wrote it? What?
They're brothers. I think they're brothers. Well, at least they're related. I'm sorry. Benny and Josh Safdie.
Benny. Benny and the Jets.
It's a great name. Great song. Love it.
Sorry, I made you say Benny just so I could do that terrible.
Benny's
terrible
a great
singing.
name and a great song. The Safdie brothers, they're just like a guerrilla style indie filmmakers. I mean, they're I think pretty well known in the indie world in New York. That's where they shoot all their films.
All right.
But other than that, they're kind of up and comers. We're relatively new in the scene.
I don't like them, Jay. They sound snooty. Not my type of people.
Okay. So Heaven Knows What was the 2014 film that I recently reviewed, and
Heaven knows what?
Once again, it's just powerful stuff. But in my mind, it's actually a better film, a little more polished, a little bit better, story narrative, and Robert Pattinson is actually the main guy. They got Robert Pattinson, baby.
Honestly, he's been doing a lot of atonement.
No, he
for
does a
Twilight
lot of
films.
indie films. A lot of indie films.
I've seen him in some good ones. So
yeah, so he's actually the only real star in this movie, other than Jennifer Jason Leigh. Something
talks
like
about
that.
Daisy Domergue.
Yeah, her. Is it Jennifer something Lee?
This here's Domergue.
But she makes a small appearance in this movie. But so Robert Pattinson is a guy who's essentially a New York scumbag, and he's a criminal. His brother that he brings into to do a bank heist with is borderline autistic. I mean, he has some type of mental health issues, and this is actually, believe it or not, played by Benny Safdie.
Benny,
really, really well.
Benny. All right, I'm not gonna keep doing it. I'm sorry.
No, he really floored me, honestly. I mean, it opens up with his, a shot of his face, and you get him like especially I think you and I would more because we are used to those kind of people, I guess, in the mental health world.
Spend some time with them, yeah.
And it really, I was impressed. So.
Most impressive.
Yes. His brother gets arrested as the bank heist goes wrong, and you see Robert Pattinson's character go through this insanely wild, night and day.
See, just like the movie I described.
Pretty much. And it is all bad stuff, yeah. And they try to come up with this bail money to get get his brother out, and they can't quite get it. Every
Wait,
time
how bad?
once
Are we
things
talking
go,
Are we talking like the fate of Marcellus Wallace bad, or like?
No, it's the thing. Like he's one of those scumbags that knows how to pull on a little bit of a charm to get what he wants and get his way, but shit always hits the fan eventually. At some point.
Like he calls Marcellus Wallace a bitch. Does Marcellus Wallace look like a bitch?
I mean, the plot and the story, it gets a little far fetched sometimes because he gets away with an insane amount, and you see him and you're following him, and you're seeing on the news, like he's blasted all over New York news, like they're on like practically a manhunt for him, but he still makes these unbelievably rash and crazy decisions just simply to try and get money to get his brother out. And in a weird way, it's kind of honorable, but really, ultimately, he's just fucking dumb. He's just a stupid idiot.
Well, I mean, we know from Batman that criminals are a superstitious and cowardly lot.
But I'll tell you what, though, this score was incredible, and it kept you on the edge of your seat. It had a really intense atmosphere throughout the whole movie, and really gritty, interesting cinematography. Performances across the board were pretty strong. There were some appearances from actors that they used in Heaven Knows What in this movie. That was pretty damn authentic. But otherwise, this movie is really strong. Portraying characters who are either desperate, they're lost, but yet they're still loving, but they're frightened and just plain fucking stupid sometimes. And it's a great guerrilla style filmmaking that will definitely stay with you.
I'm not interested. To be honest, you didn't sell me on this.
No,
I'm more interested in my movie.
What movie? Your movie?
Yeah.
Good time.
Good time. My version of good time.
At least there's a slight hookup in this movie.
Robert Pattinson hooking up with
I
a girl.
mean, he's kind of getting some, but it's kind of sleazy though. At the same time, it's with a 16-year-old.
Oh Jesus,
I
man!
know, and he's using her too just to get what he
with
wants.
You and these films about like the world's like worst
No,
and most degrading sex acts.
It's not. It's not that bad. He's really just doing it.
She wants it, so it's not that bad.
No.
If there's her on the field, I'm gonna play ball.
When you see the movie, you tell like he's doing it to distract her. He has to do it.
I have to have sex with this girl.
No, he's not having sex. He's just making out with her. He's just making out with her. That's all he's done. I know.
Still.
And he's just using and abusing and manipulating her.
Put him on a watch list.
But that's the character. That's the kind of movie this is. I mean,
is the sequel to this movie The Woodsman?
Gritty.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh God.
Oh man.
But if you like some gritty indie movies, this is definitely worth a watch, man. Trust me.
Not for me.
This is powerful stuff.
Not for me. So coming up next, me and Jay and Lauren will return to review our beers. We are starting our Oktoberfest beer reviews for the month of September, so stay tuned for that.
Definitely.
Welcome back to the beer segment. So since this is the first week of September, we said that we would be doing Oktoberfest beers all through September. So we have 2 Oktoberfest beers to bring to you, and then we are still joined by my wife, Lauren, who is going to be talking about a harvest ale, which I don't know.
Whatever that is.
Whatever the fuck that means.
Yes.
All right, so Jay, what is your Oktoberfest that you got for
I'm
us?
excited because I like Oktoberfest beers most of the time. And my first one for this month is Ballast Point Brewing Company's Dead Ringer. It's 6.0 alcohol by volume, and it has a lot of great, smooth, creamy kind of like toffee and caramel kind of flavors to it. It's very drinkable, and it has a beautiful color. So I really like the amber color, And
Well, that's what Oktoberfests are.
well, some are darker and lighter than others.
It's a dark. It's like a dark pilsner. Some of them are lagers. Some of them pilsners. But I mean,
Yeah, this is more like a lager, and it's great. I really really enjoy. It's definitely something that I would probably go and order again if I saw it at a bar. I'll probably. Oh boy, what kind of grade would I give this? I'm not sure. I've been giving 4s a lot lately, but I feel like I want to go with a 4.
Well, just go with your gut, man. No one
I want to go with my gut. I'm
No
gonna
one
go with
cares.
4.
No one fucking cares.
This is a 4 out of 5 for Oktoberfest.
All right, wife.
All right, so I am drinking the Southern Tier Harvest Special Ale. My first sip, what is this, 6.7 alcohol?
Husband's trying to get you drunk tonight.
Yeah, and you know me, I usually wouldn't drink beer this high. Usually I like to keep around 4.0 or 5. So my first sip, I didn't really care for it. I don't know, it's like hoppy or something. I don't really like it that much. I don't know, it just hit me. I don't like it.
I thought you enjoyed it when you were drinking a little bit. It's got like a.
I'm not a fan of it.
I mean, it's not really.
It's got like a weird.
It's not really
happy kind of.
It's not really
I don't
unique
know if
in any of its form. You know, it's not. It doesn't really taste particularly hoppy. It's harvest, but there's no pumpkin.
There's no pumpkin in it.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's maybe what's wrong because I was expecting pumpkin and I got.
It is a
this
peculiar
instead.
beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't care for it. It's not bad. I'm sure it's not a bad beer, but I'm not a fan. And what do you guys score? 1 through 10.
1 through 5.
1 through 5. I'm gonna give this a 2.
Okay.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, and then because I'm me and I do this all the time, I have a Flying Dog Oktoberfest.
Big surprise.
I saw it sitting there, and I just couldn't resist. I was like, yeah, let's just bring it back to the Flying Dog. So
Why not?
Yeah, I'm drinking the Flying Dog Oktoberfest. It's so punny. I love it.
Perfect.
And this is their Marzan that they put out around this time every year, as everyone does for their Oktoberfest beers. No descriptors on it or anything like that. The only thing that it says is, "There is sauerkraut in my lederhosen. I repeat, sauerkraut in my lederhosen." I don't know what that means. It doesn't really describe the beer too much. It's 5.6 alcohol per volume, but it's smooth, man. It's smooth. It's got a real nice dark amber color like Jay's, as all Oktoberfests have. So what I like about Oktoberfest are, while it tastes light and looks dark. There is a bit of maltiness to it that you don't get with like a normal pilsner.
Yours tastes so much better than mine.
Yeah, I like mine. I like mine a fair bit. However, I've had stronger Oktoberfest, better Oktoberfest. I even think Yingling does a better Oktoberfest than this.
I'm looking forward to trying that one.
Yes.
I haven't had it before.
We'll have to do that in Sam Adams together since they're two similar type of brewery establishments.
Yeah.
So, but this one, I'm gonna go and give it a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoy it. But
That's about right. No, I like it, but it's a little less Oktoberfesty than my beer, for example. It doesn't have a good bold flavor.
the man
that I
can't,
like.
when the man can't get a word right, he just starts making up his own.
That's what I like to do.
All right, so coming up next, me and Jay got the news that we compiled for this week that we're going to be breaking down. Some interesting stuff. It's mostly DCEU, and that kind of bothers me because that is originally why we stopped doing news,
right?
Because we had to report on the DCEU so fucking much, and here we are.
News gets frustrating in Hollywood at times,
right?
And especially when you're a weekly podcast show, it's struggling.
But this is interesting because I think me and you have an interesting take on why this is happening.
We do. We do come from different angles and perspectives, and it's interesting stuff to talk about because we already talked about it a little bit beforehand through phone, and now it'll be fun to talk about it and banter about it through the podcast show.
Like a weird circle jerk. We both come from different angles, but everybody gets off. So stay tuned. And now it's time for the news. All right, Jay, one of the things that I found extremely interesting in the news this week just came out today because it's Monday. This weekend was the lowest weekend for box office in 16 years. Now, The Hitman's Bodyguard, which, obviously stars Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds, it's Ryan Reynolds' second week. This movie, it's its second week at number one. However, it only earned $10.1 million in its second week for a total of $21 million.
It's just scheduling, I think, more than anything. I mean, it's just Hollywood just having bad scheduling and having, like I said, I just saw 2 indie movies that dropped in our area this week. So, I had 2 new indie movies to watch, but that was the only new thing in the theater, really.
It's just so weird that a film that probably isn't making its money back commercially is number one. It's number one. Critically,
for the second week.
Yeah. Critically, you could say that, it's done okay for itself.
I've heard people say that it's fun to watch.
Right.
It is what it is. It's
saying,
exactly what you expect, but it's enjoyable to watch.
But it's interesting that it's still not putting butts in seats.
Because people realize it's not worth the money to go out to the theater and see. You're going to wait until it's on HBO or on Redbox.
Brings us back to our very first conversation we had on episode 1 of Super Movie Brothers, where we talk about streaming services and how they will affect box office. And then we get into stuff like last week where we talked about Movie Pass.
Exactly.
Where, the way we view movies, at least new movies coming out, the way we absorb our content is ever evolving. Now,
true.
Counter argument to that is this was the lowest week for the theaters, because of scheduling, it's late August and stuff like that. College students are going back to college this week. So and kids are going back to school this week. So for high school and stuff. So that perfect demographic of 18 to 35
this is the
is
normal,
very busy right
this
now.
This is a very normal horrible lull in Hollywood. In August, the end of August.
Not to mention, a lot of people, those people that you catch going to the movies when there's nothing else to do on a Sunday afternoon, had something to do on Sunday afternoon. They all watch the Weather Channel because we all know that Hurricane Harvey has been hovering itself like a finger of God right over top of southeastern Texas. And it's an interesting story. I mean,
and they're prepping for the Game of Thrones season finale. So
right. And not to mention, a lot of your other shows are starting to come back. So there's a lot of reasons why this. However, for it to be the lowest weekend in 16 years, I think this is something that you're going to see. I think you're going to see more weekends like this going forward, and that is because of the type of streaming services that are available. And, and if and it's also what we talked about, the death of the B movie in that episode 1 of Super Movie Brothers, way back when. We talked about the death of the B movie. Only direct to video and direct to streaming service releases come out. And then tentpole blockbusters, and really those middle movies like The Hitman's Bodyguard don't survive unless they're horror, unless it's a horror film.
Exactly.
Because Annabelle Creation, number 2.
And it is actually getting rave reviews. Also, their box office predictions are massive and only growing. I mean, this is going to be one of the biggest movies in a very long time.
I'll be honest,
especially in the genre, and it's going to revamp the whole franchise.
It's going to be the next movie that we do for a minisode. We haven't done minisode reviews in a while because
this is definitely worthy.
Yeah, that's worthy of it. Because it's something that's going to get me out to the theaters. Wind River, while I'm interested, I can definitely wait for.
Sure. I would say that.
Same thing with Logan Lucky. I can wait for that.
Right.
So there's nothing really drawing me to the theaters. Nothing, making me want to get out.
It is worth going out to the movie theater to see. Definitely.
Well, yeah. I think
I know it's hard. It's hard to.
So yeah, that'll be our next. That'll be our next review that we put out. Will be it. But yeah, I just thought this story was a little bit interesting when I heard it this morning.
It is, but no, it's telling. It's exactly. It reflects upon everything that we've been talking about over the last year or so being on the show, and it's just this day and age. I mean, what are you gonna do?
What can you do? These crazy kids. All right, Jay. Now the rest of our news is extremely DCEU centric. Now the reason,
Which is fine because
It's
you know,
really
it
the only
is what
news.
it is. I mean, that's what Hollywood dropped on us. And
it's really the only news that's out there. But also, I think there's something interesting to be read between the lines, which is purely speculation from me and Jay. But let's just run through these stories real quick. First off, Joker and Harley Quinn DC Extended Universe movie is going to be filmed and released. So when I'm honestly not sure. There's no real say when. I don't think there's a script or anything for it. However, this is a project that is born from. I wouldn't be surprised if Jared Leto pushed for this film himself, because a lot of what was left on the cutting room floor was Joker Harley Quinn stuff, and I think that's the story he was most interested in getting to, and I think he explained that in a lot of interviews. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was him and him alone really pushing for this, and DC
I can see that.
and Warner Brothers saying, yeah, okay, I guess so.
Yeah, you fucked me on the cutting room floor. Payback, bitch.
That's right. Yeah, pay up, or I'm not going to be in any other movie.
Right.
So, it's possible. I don't know what his
He's
contract,
that kind of guy that would do that, though.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of contract he had or anything like that. What his picture deals were, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some workaround either that him or his agent did that got this movie greenlit. But it's very interesting that while we get news about one Joker film, we get news about another Joker film. A Joker origin film that would not star Jared Leto, that would possibly have Batman in it, but no Bruce Wayne. No confirmation on who would play Batman, but probably not Ben Affleck, being as it's not Jared Leto as the Joker in it.
It wouldn't be.
It would be an origin story. It would actually tell the origin of the character, which if you follow comics, the origin of the Joker has been teased and talked about several times, but it's never been tied down. It's never been one thing or the other. You know, in 1989, Batman gave us the Jack Napier version.
If you're a real Joker fan, you do not want
Exactly.
an origin fucking movie.
I don't want one.
A standalone movie is one thing, but not an origin movie.
You know, there's the Killing Joke by that came out, and the Killing Joke does have an origin story in it, but however, that wasn't DC canon until the past couple years. And then even then, they've even thrown smoke and mirrors around that and threw a bunch of other type of origin stories that could have happened. So that way, you know, the Joker's origin is very much choose your own adventure. You know, he gets to choose who he is that day and what origin is the one he had, which they pay homage to in The Dark Knight when he gives all of these different, you know, I got these scars. So to give him an origin story, to give him at least it's only in the DCEU. Well, no, it's not even the DCEU. So it's only in this film, this origin movie
yet to be
exists.
announced
Right.
banner that DC is going to be putting up. That or
You want to know what I think it's going to be called?
I'm sure.
I think it's going to be called The Man Who Laughs. Which is a film from.
Oh, you talking about the banner? Or are you talking about the? No, it's not the banner.
No, that's going to be the name of
the
this
movie.
Joker origin movie, The Man
Well,
Who Laughs.
That's not bad. But I want to see, and what I'm gathering and what would make sense is that they're going to try and do almost like a mid-budget kind of story,
Right.
character-related standalone films.
Probably
kind
re-
of like in a $60 million range, and really try to put out an interesting quality film. Just like the Batman with Matt
character-
Reeves, which will obviously be a little bit bigger. But
Right, character-driven story that focuses on the Joker.
Right, exactly, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that in theory, but like
It's
the way
weird-
they
isn't it weird that it's not
the way
part of
they
the-
put this out,
Right.
the news. It's soured. It's soured everybody.
Isn't it
especially
weird that
with
it's
the
not part
follow-up
of the
news.
DCEU? Like, isn't that just weird that you
It's
know,
weird. It's very weird.
Like, how much is Marvel doing outside of their universe? And comparing the two, I understand that DC at some point wants to start differentiating themselves from Marvel. And I'm not against this idea. I would actually prefer it if there was no DCEU and we got these solo films where each film was just a story. It was just a story. It doesn't matter who's playing Batman. It doesn't matter who's playing the Joker. It doesn't matter who's playing what villain. This is this story adapted from this, and this is how we're putting it to you. And the next time we'll have a completely different story.
My issue is
Like James Bond.
they haven't even filmed the next film with the Joker that's currently playing him, Jared Leto.
Right.
And he's supposed to be having a film with Harley Quinn, and that has yet to come out or even shoot. along with Suicide Squad 2.
Suicide Squad 2 and the Gotham City Sirens movie that they also were talking about too, with Harley Quinn also in that.
I don't understand what they're trying to do. Like, do they really think they can do it at the exact same time, have two different Jokers? They already said it would probably be a younger Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Which would obviously be the case. But, like, it still just doesn't really make any sense.
How does this fucking board of execs work? Do they sit in an office and they have a fucking giant dartboard and spin it and they all sit there and throw a dart at it and they go, that?
I guess. I mean, like...
I landed on Shazam. That's the next step. That's the next in production.
No,
why is Shazam the next in production?
I don't know.
Who gives a fuck about that? No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Shazam as a comic book reader, and that's going to be a hard
They're just jumping the gun on like certain things. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, in time you can get to that. In time you get to that. But why are you so eager? Like, they're still in panic mode, I feel like.
Jay, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to why they're so eager when we talk about the next thing that came out. Now, this has been redacted since then. They've gone back. They've retracted some of these statements. But Matt Reeves said that the Batman film will be separate from the DCEU, which they elaborated on. I'm not even going to say they retracted. They elaborated on. They said that it's not going to have such deep ties to the DCEU. It's not going to be interwoven with the DCEU, which to me says that it's probably a prequel. It's probably taking place before BVS.
I don't even think they're going to even acknowledge it. I think they're just going to have a straight up Batman film.
It's going to be a Batman film.
I don't even know if it's going to be a prequel or a sequel.
A Batman film.
You won't even know. It's just going to be a straight up Batman movie.
And I am way cool with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that's all I think it is. I don't think they're going to make a big fuss about it. I think it's going to be a straight up Batman movie.
But the statement should have been.
It's all it needs to be.
Should have been. We're making a Batman movie.
But at the same time, like,
not a DCEU movie. We're making a Batman movie.
This was Matt Reeves, and I don't know how this interview was conducted. It could have been a freelance thing, like literally just in a cafe with like a recorder that some journalist had, and Matt Reeves was just kind of like talking a little off the cuff and maybe a little casual, and didn't watch his words. We don't know. I mean, like, honestly, the way this news dropped, it was severe. And
or
it was
did
massive.
someone misunderstand his words? That's always possible.
Well, you don't really know, and that's the problem with the media. But
Right.
It is what it is.
But if you look into these stories, especially the last two, the Joker origin and the Batman not being as involved in the DCEU as some of the other DCEU films, it kind of seems like Warner Brothers is backtracking a bit. It kind of seems like Warner Brothers is just like,
it feels that way.
Like they're kind of not so cocksure anymore of their DCEU as they were from the forefront. But you can also
right now the power is in the vagina.
You can also argue the opposite direction and say like, well, I mean, obviously they're confident. They're announcing all these movies. I think and again, I've said this a bunch of times. Stop announcing movies. Focus on the fucking movies in production.
Exactly.
Feed us that info and maybe tease us for the next one. Because if I sat here on my hand and I tried to count how many they've said are coming and aren't coming, we know there's Shazam. We know there's Black Adam. We know that there's a Nightwing movie. We know that there's a Batgirl movie. We know that there's a solo Batman movie. We know that there's now a Joker Harley Quinn. We know that there's a Gotham City Sirens, a Suicide Squad 2,
they're almost doing
a
like
Man
what
of
like
Steel
Universal
3.
is doing.
I'm not done yet, Jay.
Okay.
We know that there is possibly a Flash movie out there somewhere, a Cyborg movie, or possibly a Flash/Cyborg movie. We know that eventually we have to get to the Green Lanterns, especially now because Justice League has mentioned that the Green Lanterns exist in the trailer, right? Your head is already fucking spinning with how many. And
no, really, I am. Yeah.
There's some that I'm leaving on the fucking table.
No,
that
you
they've
are.
announced.
Yeah. Wow.
What the fuck are you doing?
The way I didn't really realize until you just said every single property and title.
These are
That's
all
a
films
lot.
in the past year to 2 years.
That's going to take a decade to do.
Right. Absolutely. I think now what you're seeing is
They're acting like Marvel. I mean, not Marvel. I mean, Universal with the Dark Universe.
Right.
That's exactly how they're acting. They're being way too ambitious and way too cocky, and they think they can produce these movies of quality.
There's some loose lips on this ship as it's sinking.
They're just they just don't have any kind of real pride and quality behind these properties. They're just not making them the right way. Now, they're stepping into the right direction with Matt Reeves and the Batman. I'll give them that.
But you're also thinking, my thought is it could also be smoke and mirrors. They could be announcing these films because they know that these are the type of films that fans want. And fans might come out to see the next film if they think that the film they want to get is coming down the line. And
They're doing Wonder Woman 2 with Patty Jenkins back again.
I forgot to mention that one.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 2. So there you go.
With Patty Jenkins, the highest paid female director of all time.
And did I mention? I mentioned
At only $10 million or something like that.
I mentioned Man of Steel 3, right? I mentioned that one. I think that was in there.
No need for that one.
Not to mention the TV properties, Titans. They got a Teen Titans show that's going to be coming out, and there's just so much like just churning in this fucking vat of DCEU that I feel like it's a go fish game. They're just chucking a line in and they're pulling a fish out and they're just going, all right, that's it. It's the one. Let's make the announcement. Here it is. Who's directing it? We don't know. Who's writing it? We don't know. Who's starring in it?
Can I be honest?
Don't know.
Warner Brothers used to be a very prestigious studio.
I know. They used to be the studio.
They have been tarnishing their name pretty badly over the last 5 years or so.
It's something that happens to people, to businesses, it happens all the time. You have a run of bad luck. I mean, and
sure,
you honestly,
and obviously employees come and go,
right?
As well.
Right.
And
so you make hits for years or whatever. You know, you're on top of the game. Eventually, a bubble has to burst. You have to go to rock bottom, or not, maybe not rock. You have to stumble to stand back.
A transition
up.
period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing. But I think we're also seeing that with the films that they're announcing now that it seems like they are distancing themselves from the DCEU, where they kind of want to set themselves up to make films that don't exist in the DCEU that could possibly turn a profit. And what I'm getting at with that is I'm wondering, have they seen Justice League and are they worried again?
That was my initial thought.
Yeah, that's
honestly, like it really was.
So,
yeah.
have they seen Justice League and they're worried now?
Yeah.
Is it not what they thought that it would be? Even with $20 million reshoots really headed by Joss Whedon.
I think.
Oh, I forgot.
No, I mean I really
to
do
mention
feel
Aquaman.
like that.
There's an Aquaman movie too. Did I mention Aquaman?
Oh
movie?
God! Actually, that's actually the almost finished shooting.
How many films did I rattle?
So at
off?
least
20?
that one's actually being shot.
Yeah.
Like that's literally almost done filming right now.
They rattle off 20 films that they've pseudo announced, and I say pseudo announced because these are not real announcements. When you really announce that a film is being made, there's already production dates, a date set that film is going to come out, a director hired, and a lead actor in the role. Like that's when you announce a film. That's when you announce that a film is happening. Remember when Marvel announced their films? Everybody was on the fucking stage. Everybody who was playing those characters was on the stage at Comic-Con, waving to everybody.
That's how you build excitement and anticipation, right?
It was a thing at the time. You knew it was coming. You knew that all those films were coming.
It's
because
smart.
Contracts were signed, blood was put on fucking paper, and lives were sold. And it to me, it's so hard to trust the news that comes out. It could also be the opposite end of the spectrum, to play devil's advocate, where it's not Warner Brothers making these announcements. They just have some leaks and they're getting out. You know, some of these things could be boardroom meetings that someone is overhearing and then leaking to the media and going, "Oh, they're gonna make a Joker origin movie. They're going to make they're gonna be making this movie and that movie because I heard someone mention it in the boardroom." And that's it. I mean, that's all it could be, especially when you have nothing attached. What I'm getting at is a movie isn't announced until a release date is set, a director is attached, and we have a main actor, and there is a schedule put forth of what is going on, like what is going to happen with this film.
there's a mess in Warner Brothers.
Don't
and
believe
DC,
everything that you
and,
breathe.
You know, for whatever reason, they just don't know how to appoint a good worker who knows what the hell they're doing. And
what they really need is
to
a face.
really just
They need a face.
they need something. They need somebody.
Right. They need
that's going to take the reins.
They need a
and
Feige.
Get
They
the
need-
ship sailing in the right direction.
Right, but what I'm saying is they need a Feige. They need a Kevin Feige.
Yes,
they
they do.
need they need someone like that who, when they talk about something, you know that it's real. You know that it's coming. It's just so strange that you don't hear these type of leaks from Marvel. You know, like it's so strange that you don't hear like what Marvel has planned for. Like you hear little things, rumblings here and there, rumors, mostly fanboy rumors, but you don't hear that.
Whatever security levels they do are probably very over and beyond.
Right.
And also, it's a different business. I mean, they probably just.
I also think that
you don't know.
when
I
they
mean-
stepped into this world of these not even big budget movies, these comic book movies that come with fanboy attention and this type of internet attention, stuff like that. Maybe Warner Brothers was a little ill prepared for leaks and stuff like that. Maybe they hadn't tightened up yet because
maybe
they're still learning how to do that. It's just it's confusing. It's so hard to know like what to report on, and I mean that's why we bring it to you.
And it's only going to get worse, honestly. You know, it's going to continue. And it's going to get worse.
It's just so strange. It's just
the Batman film alone, Dave. I mean, that was a roller coaster ride over the last. I mean, 5 months?
Yeah,
actually more than that even. I mean, it literally just been bouncing all over the place with different kind of rumors.
Ben Affleck's
not just
not in
rumors,
it.
but like actual facts too.
Ben
I mean,
Affleck's out, and it's like, well, you know what?
Yeah, I mean, he was having alcohol problems and
Divorce issues still.
Divorce issues. His Live by Night film was a disaster financially, critically, and I feel for the guy, but it is what it is. And then on top of that, just the properties alone dropping the ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
so if you take anything away from this conversation, goddamn, Warner Brothers is one wacky game show.
oh, this is
That's it.
we're in the thick of it. Put it that way.
Exactly.
We're in the thick and fog of the storm, and it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
I don't think it's worth reporting on a DCEU film or any Warner Brothers DC property.
No. And we won't,
unless there is a director attached.
right?
And
we will do our
some sort
best
of
to
release
keep
schedule.
those news.
Yeah, I only brought this up because it just seems weird. And
No, this is worthy. No, this is worthy because this is a lot of big stuff.
I thought the off-air conversation me and you had about these announcements last week was interesting, where we both came to the same conclusion that they watched Justice League, and Justice League might
definitely,
not be good.
Definitely.
Hence why they're like,
Well, unless Josh,
that.
well, unless Josh can like pull something out of his ass in the
Jay,
editing room, I don't
that-
know. I mean, but
that film is practically done. It's coming out in November.
well, they just filmed the reshoots, just filmed them.
I don't think those. I don't think those edits will be enough to fix.
I don't know. We'll see. But even still, I don't think they have a winning film on their hands. Despite having a trailer drop, 2 years ago? It feels like 2 years ago, but that first teaser trailer.
Yeah, it was.
God, that was a while ago.
It was last year at Comic-Con, I think. Last year.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a year.
Exactly.
A year and 2 months. A year and 2 months.
I mean,
By the time the film comes out, it'll be a year and a half. The trailer was released.
I don't know what the fuck Warner Brothers is doing, but they need to learn how to make movies again.
So that's going to do it for Super Movie Brothers tonight. I want to thank everybody for taking this journey with us. I want to thank everybody who's a fan of Game of Thrones for listening to us and our episode breakdowns and us talking and reacting about the show. That is all done and over with. DCEU is hopefully taking a break. Hopefully we'll get some different news to talk about next week. Hopefully Jay gets out there and sees some better films.
Fuck you. I saw 2 great films. Not great, but like I really liked a lot Ingrid Goes West and Good time.
It's a Hollywood lull right now, but me and Jay will be back with a review for it when that comes out. If you enjoy listening to the show, please go into iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, or Apple Podcasts, as they'd like to be called now. And when you go on there and you leave that review, if you want to, screenshot it and email it to supermoviebrospodcast@gmail.com. That's supermoviebrospodcast@gmail.com. That will enter you in to win the Star Wars Funko Pop That will enter you in to win the Star Wars Funko Pop giveaway for R5D4 and Naked C-3PO. And you might remember R5D4 as the droid that had a bad motivator. Uncle Owen, this droid's got a bad motivator. I gotta go down to Tosti Station and pick up some power converters.
Voice impressions always on point, dude.
Yeah, that's right. And then make sure that you follow us on Twitter at SuperMoviePod on there. You can be part of some of the polls that we put up. Pretty soon, our Movie Cocktail podcast episode on Howard the Duck will be coming out, which means you're free to enjoy the cocktail recipe that we put up, and then also wait on bated breath as we put out our next poll for the film that we will be discussing in our next Movie Cocktail
And also
podcast.
check us out on Untapped.
That's
Go
right.
check us out on Untapped. We have our beer reviews up there. And, yeah, go have fun with that. Interact with us. Check out what we're drinking.
Perfect. And as always, we are part of a network. We are part of the Podfix network. You can find Podfix and all the shows at www.podfixnetwork.com. And then also, I was on Netflix and Swill this week. Their episode number 55, where we reviewed Death Note on Netflix. So be sure to check that out. I have a lot of fun talking with Dan and Caleb. You might remember them from our top 5 gut-busting comedies episode that we did here. So thanks, everyone, for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.